Stage name is Vinsanity. I have a channel on YouTube called Vinsanity Unplugged. That's my channel in the Eugene um, Community TV and other networks. Anyways, I am very, very interested in a guy named Nicholas J. Hanauer. Hanauer. Can't pronounce it. Hanauer. So this is a guy. He was born to a secular Jewish family, and in New York City. Then he was raised in Bellevue, Washington, which is south of where I'll be picking up my walk again. His brother's Adrian, majority owner of the Seattle Sounders FC, and a minority owner of the Expansion National Hockey League team in Seattle. Now, after earning a philosophy degree from the University of Washington, he began to work at a family-owned Pacific Coast Feather Company. I'd be interested in knowing how much this Pacific Coast Feather Company was worth at the time, and what he started out getting paid and how he trained for that. A lot of people are impressed with wealthy people, but they don't give much slack to people like Trump or anyone who inherits money. Because they'll say, Nick, you inherited money. Trump, you inherited money. You're not worthy of your money. Of course, I don't believe that. But still, I'm interested in knowing how much of a helping hand up he had received. Anyways, for the Pacific Coast Feather Company, he served as co-chair and CEO. And in the 1980s, he founded Museum Quality Framing Company, a large West Coast franchise. In the 90s, he was an early investor in Amazon.com, where he served as advisor to the board until 2000. He founded Gear.com, which eventually merged with Overstock.com, and Avenue A Media, which in 2007 under the new name A Quantitative, and was acquired by Microsoft for the minimal price of $6.4 billion. Now in 2000, he co-formed the Seattle-based venture capital company, Second Avenue Partners. The company advises and funds early-stage companies such as House Values and Quilliance and Newsvine. He's owned many businesses. In 2018, just 2 years ago, he and his brothers sold Pacific Coast Feather. Now, he does a lot of civic activism, and he's a co-founder of the True Patriot Network, which is a progressive think tank. Now, the think tank is framed upon ideas that he and Eric Liu presented in their 2000 book that espouses patriotic progressivism, titled The True Patriot. He and his wife, Leslie, co-manage the Nick and Leslie Hanauer Foundation, with focuses on public education and the environment, and additionally supports a variety of progressive causes locally and nationally. So he is a force to be reckoned with. Okay, he's active in the Seattle community and the Washington public education system. He's co-founded the League of Education Voters, a nonpartisan political organization. Nonpartisan, I like that. A nonpartisan political organization dedicated to improving the quality of public education in Washington. He also serves on the boards of the Cascade Land Conservancy, and I had emailed them a couple months ago. Talk to you about that later. The University of Washington Foundation. And he appeared in Robert Reich's documentary, Inequality for All. Now, in June 2014, he wrote an opt-in for Politico magazine, in which he foresaw the pitchforks coming to his fellows 0.01 percenters. They did not address the issue of increasing wealth inequality. He noted how it would result in the destruction of the middle class and damage to the wealthy class. That's true. If the middle class goes, and that will cause damage to the wealthy class, pure and simple. I mean, a lot of the people in the wealthy class could survive it if they got stockpiles of gold and silver and all sorts of other instruments, but there are repercussions. Okay, he made comparisons to the period preceding the French Revolution in the 18th century, and he continues this theme in his podcast, Pitchfork Economics with Nick Hanauer, in conjunction with the Young Turks Network. All right. Now, to exert influence on local politics, among other initiatives, he spearheaded and bankrolled the campaign for a tax to deal with local homelessness. He is quoted as saying, "We just decided we're going to do something, and no one could stop that. And once the bus leaves the station, people could get on or get run over." Okay. Okay. So basically, he's done a lot. All right. And you know, he's basically talking about raising the pay, raising pay, and um, because he believes that we middle class people, the wages should be increased rather than give the the tax write-offs to the rich. Now, I'm all for people getting paid more money. I mean, if I could wave a wand, I have I like that idea, and I have issues with that idea, and let me tell you why. Because I've always believed that if you have a population, and I've always been taught this, if you have a population of people who are highly educated, they have degrees. It's especially better if they have high IQs. The best thing too is that they come from families that are like two-parent families. But regardless, and then if they have a job that pays well, with a job with a lot of security and benefits and good pay, that people will flower. They will flower, and so that's what I've always believed. And of course, if you look at the opposite extreme, that's more likely to happen than if people grow up in poverty and they're uneducated and come from family, a single parent home, and have a low IQ. Obviously, it's harder for people. I mean, you have people that have all the odds against them, and they somehow make it to the top. By and large, it really helps if you have everything in your corner. However, I think we have to have a new change or evolution in the way we think, in our spirit and so forth, a spiritual evolution. Because I don't mean that just like in a biblical sense, but I mean in a sense that when I worked in the government sector, we're talking about great benefits and easy work and just everything going for you. I still saw many of my coworkers not doing too well financially. Why? Because it's always easy to spend more than you make. If you make 60,000 a year and you spend money like you're making 100,000 a year, you're going to end up in debt. And my experience is most people do not handle money very well, and most people, too many people want the government to bail them out. That's the natural inclination. What's the government doing? What's the government doing? What's the government going to do for me? So I'm a little bit concerned about how he's going to present this, how he's going to manifest this situation. I'm going to look into him more deeply. Is he going to expect the government to mandate these things? I would like to see people, businesses on their own decide that it's nice to pay their employees more. Now you got to be careful, because if you're competing against other people who do not pay their employees that much, the whole thing is not just keeping your overhead down and trying to pay your employees well. You're competing with other people, and regardless, the community. My experience is the community could see Vince paying his employees well, thinking what a great guy, but Vince is charging more than this other corporation who's not paying his employees well. And I've seen people, union officers and so forth, go to Walmart. They forget that mom and pop store who gives good quality and great service, and they're friendly and they're part of the community. The heck that but they charge more. So they go to Walmart. So I'm not sure if he's saying that we got to how this would all work. Because I think it's impossible to engineer a society where, Uncle Sam or the government or Big Brother could determine and keep rigid price control over all services and goods, and then have wage control and everything else. Things just, there's just, in the words of Thomas Sowell, there's no solutions, there's only trade-offs. But I'm still interested in seeing how his paradigm works in, as compared to the laissez-faire capitalism, which laissez-faire capitalism, even like Milton Friedman and so forth, who believes we should have regulations, and he's often misquoted as people say, thinking that he says we should, he would rather we didn't have regulations instead of regulations. That's just not true. What he meant to, what he actually said is, if we were not to have any regulations, any rules and regulations, he asserts that he believes overall, despite the many losses and the grievances and so forth, and the suffering that no regulations and no oversight from government would cause, he believes that we still be in a better place. So he's for sensible regulations. So I'm just interested in how this will all shake out. So I'm going to get in touch with him, and hopefully it'd be great if I could talk to him in front of you guys, have a little interview. Anyways, I got to go. So sayonara.